Hello and welcome to Discovering Grayslake, unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Wool, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders, right here where we call home. It's time to unleash your style with custom shirts. Explore endless possibilities with Jammin' Tees. Whether it's for schools, business, team, or events, Jammin' Tees has you covered, literally, for all your custom apparel needs. Hey there, Grayslake. Looking for a good time right in the heart of our awesome community? Well, look no further than the Grayslake Village Center, your one-stop destinations for all things fun and fabulous. Picture this. Historic downtown vibes with a mix of diverse businesses, shopping galore, and restaurants that'll make your taste buds dance. But that's not all. The Village Center is where the action is, with events happening year-round for the whole family. Take a stroll through Central Park, Gelatin Park, surrounded by trails, green spaces, and more activities than you could shake a sledding hill at. And when the weather warms up, dive into the Grayslake Aquatic Center for some splash-tastic fun. But wait, there is more. Visit GrayslakeVillageCenter.com to discover the incredible lineup of events happening every month. Want the 411 delivered straight to your inbox? Sign up for the Grayslake Village Center digital newsletter on the website or check out their Facebook page for the latest happenings. Be in the know. Not sure what you're waiting for? Come on down, soak in the local vibes, and enjoy the experience that's unmistakably Grayslake. Grayslake Village Center, where the fun never stops.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grayslake. I'm here recording at Agora, as usual, on the corner of Atkinson and Center Street, thanks to Luke over here at Agora Co-working. If you guys are looking for a space to rent for a day, for a month, or a home for your business, talk to Luke. He supports everyone and supports the show, so thank you, Luke. Okay, so I'm super excited today. So I'm sitting across from Dr. Lynn Glickman. How are you?
I'm great, Dave. How are you?
I'm excellent. So you haven't had anything going on this year?
No, it's just been boring. One day after another, nothing happening.
Monotony.
It's awful.
Okay, so everybody listening, I wanted to release this episode as soon as we could because there's a lot of important things going on. So I want to let you know some of the subjects we're going to cover so you know to hold on and listen. We're going to talk about GMS. We're going to talk about GMS East. And obviously, we're going to talk about the referendum and how that affects our schools and how it affects you as a Grayslake resident. Are those topics okay for you?
Yeah. Awesome.
Good.
Perfect.
Good. All right. So let's talk about GMS first.
Yes.
I think one of the questions I have for looking at that I'm out of the know a lot of these things is, okay, what damage occurred to the school and how did that actually happen?
Sure. All right. And I'm going to make a guess that anyone listening to this is aware that about 3.5 weeks ago now, I think, we got the news that we would have to move out of GMS due to damage at that school and to a new space. So that's the kind of envelope for this. So that damage occurred during that terrible cold snap we had over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. And we had very, very significant damage that started with the boilers not starting up. So think boilers not firing. So there was no hot water moving to the rest of the heating system. That might have been due to an air intake damper that didn't fully open. And that may have had an impact on building controls, making it so that the boiler itself didn't fire. There was also about half of our rooftop units, also known as RTUs, that also they weren't activated. They didn't activate properly. And so, unfortunately, the building was cold for a long period of time.
And it was really cold.
And it was really cold, really bitter cold. And so that caused extensive freezing in pipes. So that led to broken pipes, broken sprinkler heads, which typically are just embedded in the ceiling, but literally dropped to the floor throughout the building, just crashed to the floor.
Wow.
Water damage throughout. The classrooms had water damage in them. You may have heard that the gym floor has to be replaced.
Yeah, and didn't you just do the gym floor?
We just recently redid the gym floor, so that's definitely a pain pain point. So we had just an unfortunate combination of extreme temperatures with mechanical failure throughout the building.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
Okay, so the repairs that have to be done there,
Yes.
how long is that going to take?
Right.
Sounds extremely extensive.
It is extensive, and the timeline changed from when we first knew about it until through now. Originally, we were told 4 to 6 weeks. Last week, in the middle of the week, we got the news that we were looking at, at that point, it would have been about 11 and a half more weeks. So our new ending point is April 26th.
Okay.
I meet regularly along with many members of our leadership team. We meet with all the contractors. We meet every Friday for an update, and I'm constantly pushing, and they know that, because the hope is that we'll be able to get back into GMS sooner rather than past that time. But the 26th of April is the timeline that they've given us.
All right, so it must be hard for you because even recording this and you saying this out loud,
yes,
you are still at the mercy of the contractors, right?
100%. Absolutely.
So give her a little bit of bit of leeway here, right?
Well, and the contractors are at the mercy of the supply chain. And so I do want to point that out. If it weren't for supply chain issues, it would be a much quicker time frame. The folks that we work with at Train, and they're in charge of our of all of our boilers. They do a lot of the repair. They, as of last Friday, they said, well, we have these 2 more things to do in the next week, and then we're done because we're waiting for parts.
Wow.
And there is a long supply chain issue. Nothing surprising. Anyone who's done any work on their homes or businesses know that that's happening. So
absolutely,
there's kind of a halt there. The sprinkler head folks are nearly done. I think on Friday they were about 2/3 of the way done with their work. And the gym floor is also underway. Now, a gym floor just flat out takes a long time to do. So that April 26th deadline, regardless of if we were able to get back in the building sooner than that, I don't think it's likely that we'd have the floor done until that date.
Gotcha.
That's how long it takes to do a floor.
Right. So basically, we need to get the kids back there. And if the gym floor is not done, we move ahead.
Correct.
And we get them back to GMS.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. So a couple of questions. Are we ever going back to GMS? You've answered that.
100%. But, I've heard that out in the community. People thinking we're never going back to GMS. Folks wondering, is there terrible structural damage to the building that no one's telling us about? No, that's not at all true. We are going back to GMS for sure.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but people like to talk a lot and rumors spread fast. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I think I might know a little something about that, yes.
Yes. So, and then the question I had follow up, there's, obviously the building is not going to be permanently closed.
No.
So parents of 8th graders, the other concerns I heard is there going to be a graduation for 8th graders this year?
Of course. So, in fact, we don't do 8th grade graduation at GMS anyway.
That's right.
We do it at one of the high schools.
That's right.
So that is already scheduled and planned and has nothing to do at all. There's no impact at all on graduation. Of course not.
Cool.
Yeah.
So my little guy goes to GMS for sports camp and other things with the Park District over there.
Great.
Do we expect that that's going to be open for Park District programs?
We expect so.
Okay.
Yeah. With the timeline that we have in place, what's been given to me, there's no reason why we can't open for the summer programs.
Awesome. I'm sure that's caused a lot of, even with the Park District probably wondering, as well as the parents too.
For sure.
Okay. So with all of the extensive damage, how in the heck do you pay for that? I know that obviously there's insurance policy, but how much of that comes out of pocket for the district?
Right. So any homeowner knows that when there's a catastrophic event, they are really glad that they have good insurance. And this is where we are right now. We have an open insurance claim that covers not just all of the work on GMS, but it also includes any work that we had to do in any other school during that cold snap, and includes the ongoing expenses that are being accrued because we're at GMS East. So, we're renting space in that building. We had to add bus routes. There's quite a few additional costs. All of that is in one insurance claim. Okay. We meet with our insurance adjuster. He's commented to my assistant superintendent for finance and me that every year somebody has the largest claim, and that this is our year. And it's one claim, and I want to share with you, Dave. I don't know, this may seem odd to share what our deductible is, but I feel like it's relevant.
I think it's very relevant.
Yeah, people are worrying about that. Our deductible is $2,500.
Wow.
That's it for the entire claim.
Unbelievable.
So
whoever got that insurance policy, I'll tip my hat to them.
Yes. So we are, nobody is glad this happened, believe me, but we are certainly grateful to have a strong insurance policy, and we're very confident that will all move through smoothly.
Okay, so does that insurance policy, because I know that the problem sounds like it had a lot to do with the boilers. Mm-hmm. So do those things need to be replaced? And if they need to be replaced, is that part of the insurance policy, or how do we pay for that? Right,
good question. So we're not currently replacing the boilers because that wouldn't be covered under insurance because the boilers are functioning. The boilers are old, they need to be replaced, but we wouldn't be able to get them replaced under the insurance policy because they're functioning. Right. So what the insurance claim covers is the actual damage that was done to the building. The boilers are a top priority on our building plan moving forward, but as maybe we'll talk about later when we talk about the referendum, there's a long list of projects we need to do in our schools that we need to initiate funding for.
Grayslake, are you ready for some nonstop fun with the Grayslake Park District? Hundreds of classes, programs, community events, all designed to keep those smiles shining. Explore over 240 acres of parks, each a playground of excitement. Safety is their priority, ensuring a good time for all ages. From kids to the young at heart, the Grayslake Park District has something for everyone. Grab your seasonal program guide for memories that'll last a lifetime. Your adventure begins with the Grayslake Park District, where fun knows no limits.
Hello, Grayslake. It's Randy Cashmore with Cashmore Financial Group. It's no secret that I love our village, and a big reason for that is my membership with the Grayslake Chamber of Commerce. If you haven't taken a look at the Grayslake Chamber lately, you should. We're a wonderful group of business people creating a positive difference in the village we call home. Reach out and get involved today. You'll be glad you did.
Would you say that not replacing the boilers, because I know somebody's listening to this going, oh my gosh, why don't they replace the boilers now? Mm-hmm. But it sounds like your mission is to get the kids back in school.
100% true.
Right?
Absolutely true.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So anybody that, I don't know if they've been living under a rock, so these terrible things happen at GMS.
Yep.
And then we have to, maybe people don't know what GMS East is.
Correct.
But I think I would like you to explain that with a question that I have. So
yes.
I was amazed, and maybe not everybody will agree with me, but I really don't care. I think that...
Your podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so the transition made from closing the school and getting everybody out and getting ever to what we call GMS East at the University Center at CLC, it seemed like it happened really fast. So how did you make that decision? How did you find that facility?
Absolutely. I'm very happy to talk about that because it is so much about community, frankly. So I got the news and immediately put out kind of an all-call to my Lake County Superintendent group and said, does anybody know of a space? And my phone started blowing up right away with
Awesome.
People who had ideas, try this, try this. One of those people was Dr. John Price, who is the superintendent out in North Chicago. And they had used University Center about a year and a half ago when they were opening up a new middle school, and the middle school wasn't open on time. And he immediately gave me his contacts over there and a whole bunch of great information. And by, oh my goodness, about an hour and a half later maybe, Marcus Smith, the principal of GMS, and Amy Gluck, who's our assistant superintendent for teaching and learning, and I were over at University Center touring the building and talking about what is possible. I want to pause because University Center will be glad for me to correct this. They are not a part of CLC. So I'm just letting you know that, and because...
That shows what I know as well.
I think most people think it is part of CLC because it is a part of that same big campus. They are a separate entity. They're great partners with CLC, but they are a separate entity in the same area. So I'm just letting you know that.
Interesting. See, I learned something today already.
Learn something every day, exactly. But they have been so generous to us that I want to make sure that I'm precise when I talk about that.
Yeah.
So that was, let me think, on time. That was Wednesday. That was Wednesday. And our students were e-learning. And Thursday, we continued planning, and the students were e-learning. And Thursday, at the very end of the school day, after the teachers were done teaching, we pulled together a staff meeting, a remote meeting, and shared the news with them because they needed to hear about it first, right? And then immediately sent information out to families with the timeline. Friday, continued with e-learning. Teachers were involved in that. Staff were, all staff and students were all e-learning while we continued to plan. Saturday and Sunday, we were creating GMS East, and I will be really happy if you'll give me a few moments in a moment to talk about what we had to do.
Yeah.
We invited families in on Sunday night to come through for a walkthrough, a little open house. Monday was an emergency day for students, so no school for kids at all, while the teachers were setting up at GMS East. We had another open house on Monday night, and school started on Tuesday. So we have kind of named this ourselves, how to open a school in 5 days, because that's what we did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because I think this is extremely important. I'd like to everybody know that's listening because things constantly change and things move very fast. So I want to make everybody aware that we are recording this on Monday morning, February 12th, 2024 at 9:23 a.m. right now.
Yep.
So anything that Dr. Glickman says, this is current information as of February 12th. So I think that's important
that history
to say.
I just shared won't change.
Right, that part won't change. But moving forward,
yes,
right.
It's a moving target.
Yeah, I don't want
Absolutely.
anybody to say to you, well, you said this was going to happen.
Nope, I appreciate that.
So yes, so timestamp that.
Yes.
All right, so then what?
So what do we have to do?
Yeah, what did you have to do to make that happen?
Oh my goodness. So, first of all, we had to secure the space. So, as we talked about, we had amazing partners with the folks at University Center. And we had to work it through with our staff, who had to kind of go through their own mental versions of what does this mean for me. And our staff has been unbelievable, and they immediately just dove right in. And when I describe for you the kinds of things that had to happen over that period of time that really went from, Thursday when everybody knew about it till Tuesday, there's no way that 1, 2, 3, 4 people could do it. There were so many people that were involved, so many leadership opportunities for people who just jumped right in and did things. Wow. So here's a short list of the things we had to do in that time frame. I'm going to for sure miss something, just so you know. So we had to create new bus routes. That included adding bus routes because there are children who have been walkers to GMS that couldn't walk to GMS East. So we needed to work with our vendor, Durham, to create new bus routes. Since we're talking vendors, let's talk about food service. We had to work with our fantastic food service company, who then figured out how to use kitchen space at University Center and where we would feed the students. We had to create new schedules for every one of our 640-ish students. All right? Yeah, you're laughing. I mean, that is, right? Every child needed a new schedule because the day had to just look a little bit different.
Right.
And we really had to start from scratch. We couldn't say, well, let's add a little here, add a little here. It didn't work that way. We had to start that from scratch. We had to figure out how to fit 24 core teachers, so that's like core instruction, okay, into what was originally 19 classrooms. We now, as of the end of last week, we have 21 classrooms because there were 2 rooms that weren't available to us that now are. But still, do the math. That's not and one classroom per teacher, so we had to have 2 classrooms in a room, 2 teachers teaming, that kind of thing. Then we had to figure out where everyone else goes. So that's just the core teachers. We had to figure out where student services would happen, where multilingual instruction would happen, where every one of our specials would happen. So we're using every corner of that space. There's this amazing atrium.
Yeah.
We use that. We use all these little vestibules. I spend a lot of time there walking around, and every time I just look left and there's another little group happening. We had to figure out safe arrival and drop-off. So that includes where the buses go, where they leave, how parents can drive, what's a safe way to do that. Stairways. Our students have never had to do stairs at GMS. That may seem like not a big deal, but I became the woman at the bottom of the stairs the first few days of school saying to the students, stay to the right, stay to the right, stay to the right. There's a video of me. It's pretty hilarious because we had to make sure they get up and down the stairs safely.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's a number of staircases around the building, but we primarily use one because it's the easiest one to supervise. We don't want children on staircases without adults being able to see them. So that was its own thing. We had to figure out asynchronous PE because we aren't able to do a regular PE program. There is no space for it. So our PE teachers had to figure out how to handle that using a model that was similar to what they did during the pandemic. We had to figure out open houses. Okay, that's all the stuff we did before we walked in the door.
Yeah.
Then there's everything we had to do after we walked in the door.
My head is spinning, just so you know.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing it.
I mean, do you want me to go there?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'd love it.
So now we're on site, and immediately had to reschedule some students, right? We thought this plan was going to work, but it's not working for A, B, C reason, and we had to make some changes to schedules. Okay, let's talk about field trips. So,
Jeez.
I don't know if you heard this story, but
No.
There was another school district that had reserved the space.
Mm-hmm.
What initially seemed like it was way in the distance, but was not at all way in the distance in terms of time. Another school district had reserved the entire building for access testing. Access testing is a state-required test for multilingual learners. And they were bringing all of their high schoolers over to this building. So as soon as I had heard that, right when we started planning, I was on the phone with the superintendent of that other district. It's not District 127. It's not completely local, but nearby. And that superintendent said, absolutely, we will find another space. We'll get working on it. I kept sending that superintendent ideas, and we were working on it together. The morning of our first day, that Tuesday morning, about 10 o'clock, I received a phone call from that superintendent that said, I'm so sorry, our plans fell through, we need the building. And it was the next week. It was our second week. And we knew we couldn't do remote learning, e-learning, because we'd used up all 5 e-learning days that we are allowed per the state. Okay. So that wasn't an option.
So that's not your choice. That's
not our choice. Yes, yeah. We had used those 5 days during this past emergency between the snow day we'd had and then all of the freeze. So we started working on field trips, and we had these incredible field trips the next week on the CLC campus and the tech campus, which is a high school program. Right. So we had students, 7th graders at one building one day and 8th graders at the other building, and then they swapped. So we had to figure out field trips for the next day or for the next week. We had to figure out all of the clubs that we wanted to return to, where we could do performances, rehearsals for our band, practices for our sports teams and games. So all of that had to be arranged using our facilities, our different schools that we have, along with some out-of-district facilities as well. So some of the teams that we play with have generously hosted games that we were planning to host. We had to, we're still in the process, actually, of working out our parent-teacher conferences.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. We had to change some of the assignments that we had made for spaces, things we thought would work that once we got on site, realized, okay, but this will work better, and we had to flip people around. We've had to work on movement breaks because, as I mentioned, we aren't able to do PE. So last week, with the nice weather, our teachers started taking students outside for walks, and our PE teachers are working on a kind of more formal process for having movement breaks in school. We have sprint activities coming up. So let's see. The spring musical or the spring play is coming up, and rehearsals have started, but we are still working on our plans for where that will be. We have track that's about to start. Track is no problem outside, but when we have kids at GMS, when it's bad weather, they run inside, and we can't do that. So we have to figure that piece out. State and local testing schedules. So I know people can't see you, Dave, but just anyone who wants to know, Dave is just sitting here shaking his head.
I am shaking my head.
So it's a lot, but so many people just keep stepping up to the plate and saying, okay, we can figure this out. What can we do? How can I help? And that's how it's gotten done.
And you need everybody to work together on this. So
most people have no idea what to do with their aging loved one who needs help. Well, there is a solution. A company that provides care and assistance to make your loved one feel right at home. At Right at Home, their mission statement is to improve the quality of life for those they serve. They offer extensive services: personal and companion care, safety supervision and transportation, fall prevention, dressing and bathing assistance, medical reminders, meal prep, hospice support, ambulation support, stroke recovery, Parkinson's support. The list goes on and on and on. If you have an aging loved one that needs help, call Right at Home. Most people prefer to age in their home rather than moving to an assisted living or nursing home. Right at Home can make this happen. Contact Right at Home at rightathomenlc.com or give them a call, 847-984-0103. Now back to the show.
Who has really helped out at big time?
Absolutely.
Sounds like everybody.
Everybody. So, okay, I have to, it feels a little odd to me that I'm the one talking when I don't have anyone here from GMS with me. Mm-hmm. So, Marcus Smith and Aaron Gross, the two administrators at that building, have just moved heaven and earth. We have a number of administrators that are central office folks who have, again, moved heaven and earth and just spent every waking hour through the weekends getting everything set up. But let's just talk about the GMS teaching staff.
Yeah.
I am not going to call out individual teachers, and the only reason I'm not is because I will miss someone important, and I don't want to do that.
I understand that.
Right? But there are people who just continually just jumped up and said, how can we figure this out? What can I do? So that's just the internal staff.
Yeah.
Then we have families who just keep raising their hand. I'm remembering the weekend when we were moving. Oh, I didn't mention all the materials we had to move over. Let's talk about that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, we had to move materials over, of course, all of that. So anyway, I'm thinking about that now because we had a parent emailed me and said, I'm a parent in the district. I don't have children at GMS yet, but I will, and I'm available this weekend. What can I do? And that was just amazing. The kind of feel that we had. Absolutely. Then we have our partners at University Center and the Tech Campus and CLC who just welcomed us in. I want to go back and talk about the Tech Campus because not only did they have us on site for 2 days during those unexpected field trips, but then they had us on site last week because just like another school district needed to use the University Center for their access testing, we needed a space for access testing. We had about 150 students who needed to go through this whole testing process. It takes about 3 days, and we had nowhere to do it. Wow. And so Tech Campus welcomed us back. They're just across the parking lot from us, and so we did a little busing. Mostly, I think we did walking back and forth from that campus. They just made room.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just really been...
What a great support system, huh?
Yes. Wow. I'm a little emotional about it just thinking about it because this community has just continued to step up.
Yeah. And I love that because this is a giant community project.
Yeah.
And I know you've had some seriously important decisions to make, and when you guys all gather together to do the absolute best you can for the kids, for the teachers, because there's so many people in the community that are involved in all of this.
Yes.
It changed everything.
Yeah.
You didn't expect this year, did you?
No. No, I think a lot of people worldwide were saying, 2023 is over. There were rough things for the world in 2023. Let's look forward to 2024.
Right, somebody should have knocked on wood right there.
Exactly. But we're making our way through it, and our kids are thriving.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard a rumor, too, that I know that this will air past this time frame, but the most recent rumor I heard that you guys were going to be kicked out. Of there.
No, we have a firm commitment through April 26th. I do want to share one thing.
Yes.
We have one date that we have to create a field trip for, just like we did a couple of weeks ago. Another entity is using the building on one date. And actually, they had it reserved for 4 or 5 days, but we were able to help them whittle it down. And we'll be kind of volunteering our own time to help with this project that they have, so that we only need one date. So yes,
that's amazing.
We will be kicked out for one date. That's true. And even Election Day, the building is being used, but we've been able to work out a plan where voters can come in a door that is completely separate from where our students are going to be learning. And we have our own security guard who will also be over there at that door, completely separate from our kids. So we'll be able to continue the learning that day too.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So I know we kind of touched on it, but so the students are, their activities, are they still continuing?
Yes. So I feel like I just asked Mr. Smith, what are we still working on figuring out? And I think he shared with me still figuring out where to have the play, still figuring out how to do track when it needs to be indoors. There's a couple of clubs that we haven't been able to bring back. Cooking club is one of them. There's just nowhere to do cooking club.
Understandably.
Exactly. Other than that, our activities are ongoing. We are bringing our we're using Frederick School for both our band students and our athletes. Wrestling, every time I go over to Frederick at the end of the day, there's wrestling going on. And of course, we have band over at Frederick through this week, 3 days a week, but beginning next week, 5 days a week for an hour and a half for the students. So parents, it's an early morning, but band parents and guardians are passionate and will drive. And so we're so grateful to them, and they're carpooling and such. They drop their kids off at Frederick at 7 a.m. Students have an hour and a half lesson, or an hour and a half rehearsal, and then they are bused from Frederick to GMS. So we're actually able to provide our band students with almost as much rehearsal time in large groups as we were prior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that you're doing all that, but so is there a problem with band students doing something at 127?
So, okay, what that's about is lessons. So I was talking about the large group practices that we've been able to put together. What we have not been able to do is lessons.
Okay.
And so think like small group right? All of the, whatever it might be, pick an instrument, all of those students together at a similar level taking a lesson, which is an important part of band. We have nowhere to do that on the campus. There's just no place to go. In fact, we even asked, is it possible to use the basement for it? And it isn't. It's a safety issue. We can't bring our students down into the basement. I was really hopeful.
Right.
So there have been questions about, well, can we bring our students somewhere else to do lessons? And we have had a lot of contact with District 127 about that because they have space that we could use for lessons.
Okay.
However, what we can't do is is transport our students back and forth from GMS East to a high school during the school day. There is no way to do that. It's a short day to begin with, and all of that time on the bus and buses that we don't have available, keeping in mind that we don't own our own buses. There's no way to put that into place. So we are.
So you didn't ignore their help. You just, it's not logistically possible.
That's been out there too, that they reached out to us and we weren't responding. I don't know what that's about, honestly. I know that I have responded to several messages from 127 administrators, along with parents from 127, and I'm not aware of any message that went unresponded to. I'll say this, because I only know what I know. If any message came that we didn't respond to, please, I extend a blanket apology for that. But I'm hoping that's not the case. And
how would you miss an email? You have nothing going on. You're just sitting at your...
Honestly, I mean...
How many emails did you get?
I couldn't answer that question, possibly. All I can tell you is that for the past few weekends, I have devoted the better part of a day each weekend just cleaning my email to make sure I don't miss anything, to make sure everything is responded to. It's been a lot, but it's because people care, and we get that.
Right. No, and I like to see that you guys have put all the emphasis, because I had a bunch of questions about band, and it's nice that all the attention that's been put on that to try to keep things moving as smoothly as humanly possible.
It's so emotional for us because our band program is so good.
Yeah.
And we are so proud of it. Steve Thomas is an unbelievable band teacher, and we are the cream of the crop. In fact, last spring, we brought, on my recommendation, I was really proud of it, we brought a group of our band students to the Lake County Educator of the Year ceremony. And
That's
it was
cool.
it was the second year that there was such a ceremony. The year prior, a high school band went, and then last year when the question was who would like to do it, I shot my hand into the air without even talking to Steve or the principal and said, we'll do it, and then immediately got on the phone or emailed Steve, who said yes, of course. And throughout that entire ceremony, I had people coming up to me saying, I can't believe that this is a middle school band. So that's how good we are.
That's awesome.
And when you're that good, it's hard to think about what do we need to do to continue being this good.
Right.
And so we are continuing to do the best we can with all of that. Our kids are practicing. They have to practice at home. We just can't do those small group lessons right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, switching gears from band.
Yes.
Because it's
I
wonderful.
can talk about band for a long time if you want.
I feel that
Yes.
from you.
Well, and I'm a music person, so there's that too.
Me
anyway.
too. I think it's extremely valuable. I like that a lot of times attention is put on sports and all these other things, so it's nice to see that they're getting the attention that they need.
Yeah.
Okay.
And lots of attention on sports too.
Yes.
Just so you know, all those things are ongoing.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I've heard some people upset because there's no PE class right now.
Yeah.
So why isn't there PE? Obviously, we've kind of touched on it.
On that, right. Yeah. There's no place, there's no gym, similar to not being able to transport kids, for individual or small group lessons. We also can't transport students to a gym during the school day. There isn't a way to do that. We do have space outside that we can use, but nothing indoors. So that's the answer to the question. Okay. But we continue to look at ways to expand movement opportunities for our kids. They are up and down the stairs all day, right. which is a right. good for heart health.
And I'm glad the weather's getting nicer.
Yes.
So that will help out a lot too.
Yeah. When I was there on Friday, I think it was Friday. Yeah. A number of teachers had their students. They just took their kids out for a 10-minute walk in the courtyard right at the start of class, and that was really good to see.
Yeah, that's great. You already answered a couple of the other questions I had on here, but I guess my biggest thing is, like, how are the kids doing?
Yeah. It was so much fun to see them at open house. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
I had it was great. I was at both of the open houses, and Yes, there were some students who kind of walked around with their mouths hanging open, right? But there were other students walking around. I saw this one group of young ladies who, it was like they owned the place right away. There was swagger there. There's excitement about being on a college campus, which is really what this is.
It's cool.
Right? And we actually wonder if there may be some students who didn't look at themselves as being college bound, who might be looking around thinking, oh, this is what it's like to be in a lecture hall. This is what a small college classroom might look like. This is what it feels like. Mm-hmm. It was amazing to me that by day 2, I was walking into classrooms and it was business as usual. Just students absolutely head down doing the work. Teachers providing the instruction that they were used to providing. There were certainly pockets where we had to make changes, as I mentioned. We had to move some things around to improve them, but for the most part, our students are just business as usual and really thriving.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And looking back at this, I always think of like what happens in the future. But these kids, this is a historical event in Grayslake history,
yes.
really.
Yeah.
But I think that all the things you mentioned, it's teaching people how to deal with adversity, knowing that bad things happen no matter what we plan. We hope for the best and plan for the worst. But who would have thought to plan for this? I mean, that would have been crazy. But I think maybe the kids, besides getting that, are learning a lot through this.
I think so, and even the new things that popped up, like these field trips, brought opportunities to our children, our students, that we wouldn't have otherwise been thinking about giving them, and frankly plan to continue in one way or another in the future. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Tech Campus.
Just a little bit.
Okay, so it's a high school program, and all schools in Lake County can send students there for part of their school day, and it's like vocational programming. Right. We use that spot. We would have loved to actually been able to give students tours. We couldn't. It was too many children while school was going on, so we couldn't formally give them tours. We weren't allowed to. But just being in that space and walking past the automotive room, and walking past thinking, oh, I might be interested in learning more about this, was a great opportunity for them. CLC was over the top, an unbelievable field trip experience for the kids. They had this science. He was called the science guy in their gorgeous theater at the Lumber Center, where we had, I think it was like 80 or 90 students on stage doing science with him, with everybody else watching and cheering them on. We had team building activities going on throughout CLC. We had activities going on called No Place for Hate, which is, it sounds exactly like what it is. It's right. It's anti-hate instruction for our students. And then, to me, one of the highlights was the tour, and I went on a tour with a group of boys. I think there were 8 boys and me on this 8th grade boys on this tour of CLC, where they got to find out all about the opportunities there. They learned from somebody about leadership. They learned about farming opportunities in the community.
Wow.
Watching these boys look around the room. We were in a where they do 3D printing. And they were just gobsmacked.
Yeah,
so,
super cool.
Just the opportunities. I know I seem to be babbling on about
no,
this,
it's great.
It was an amazing day, and it was an amazing day that we otherwise, we hadn't done it in the past.
Right.
We'll do something like this in the future, but we hadn't done it in the past.
Opens up new opportunities.
Exactly.
Whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
Okay, so equally as important about how the students are doing.
Yes.
What is the culture, the feel of the staff?
Right.
I'm sure this has been really hard on them to adapt to this. So how are they doing?
So it's kind of similar to the students, right? Where they have gone through their stages of being, oh my gosh, what is this? And then let's get to work, right? And then also, and I didn't speak about the students in this way, but it's true for them too, there's that reality. When reality sets in, when we got the news that, we're there through April 26th. Because what was suddenly a new adventure that we're just going to do for, 4 to 6 weeks is suddenly a much longer time span. So they had to go through that. I was with Mr. Smith when that information was shared with them, and it was really amazing, watching how people took that information in. There were a lot of questions, but those questions were not about why and why can't we. It was not that kind of a question asking session. It was, how can we do this? Have we thought about this? And how can we best support the students?
Yeah.
So they too are just continuing to come together and support each other when things are hard, because there are certainly pieces. I mean, when I described everything we had to go through to get it up and running and the continuing ongoing work, they have to keep problem solving. And so that's mentally taxing to people. So we have to give each other breaks and support each other.
Yeah, because, at the end of the day, everybody's still a human being, and not everybody is used to a big change like that. People, somebody might be much more structured. So it sounds like they're doing the best they can under the circumstances we have. Oh my gosh,
is that true?
Yeah. So hats off to all you teachers too that are really busting your butts. They're
incredible. Yeah. They're just incredible.
This is a real testament to how they are.
They are. I had a conversation with somebody recently about the concept of surviving and striving. So we may have some. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what I just said. Surviving and thriving.
Surviving and thriving.
And striving. We can throw that in there too. But sure. I really mean surviving and thriving. So some of them may feel like they are just surviving. That's not internal, right? Externally, however, they are thriving.
Right.
So what they're showing to the students is thriving and thriving through adversity.
Right. I've been in many points in my life where it's not that you want to do something, you have to do something. And this is one of those, you just make the best of the situation. And I know we're talking like everything is, and I don't think we're playing down that not everything is perfect.
No.
Not everything is wonderful. But with the circumstances and the moves that have been made to do this, obviously are in the best interest of the students, the teachers, the community. It seems like so far everything's been as good as we can ask for.
When I spoke, thank you, Dave. When I spoke about this at a board meeting a few weeks ago, and I, as we were just getting ready, as we had just opened up, it was right after we had opened up GMS East. I talked about it under the heading of community and problem solving and collaboration, and that's really what it has all been. The collaboration of our parents, our staff, and the community, including 127, as you mentioned, offering a space, the University Center, CLC, the Tech Campus, and everybody who's just called and said, how can I help? That's how a community moves something forward, and that is our community here.
Amen. And it's been wonderful. Once again, a reminder that the date of this recording is the 12th, February 12th? Is that what
it is? February 12th.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to take a break here, and we're going to move into some referendum questions I have. But since I had the opportunity to sit down with you, I don't know you that well.
Sure.
So this is something we call the Grayslake Hot Seat, and I know that you've listened to a couple episodes anyway. So I just want to get to know you a little bit better, and
sounds like a plan.
Some fun things. So.
It's time for the Grayslake Hot Seat. The Grayslake Hot Seat today is brought to you by Premier Chiropractic. Dr. John, conveniently located in historical downtown Grayslake. Premier Chiropractic offers you a full range of chiropractic care. John is dedicated to treating people within our community and showing them the benefit of great, convenient, affordable chiropractic care. So if you're looking to get straightened out, go see Dr. John at Premier Chiropractic. Now for the Grayslake Hot Seat.
Your questions on here may help with what you had to do. If you had to have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, superpower. Like a real superpower.
A real superpower.
Like a real one.
Like the real ones that exist.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I mean like ones that a superhero would have.
Sure.
I think I would be able to transport myself from one space to another.
Teleportation.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Yep.
Awesome. I love it. Tell me a place you'd like to travel that you haven't been.
Oh, Alaska.
Awesome. Me too. Who's the funniest person you know?
Oh my gosh. I think it's one of my daughters.
Really?
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Now, how many daughters do you have?
Two. So now I've just insulted the other one. But
right.
I didn't mean to.
How about one of the funniest people you know? How old are your daughters?
They will soon be 26 and 29.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. Two girls.
Yes.
So you've been through a lot.
Yeah.
With that. What was your first car you ever had?
Oh my goodness! It was my grandma's. My Oma. Oma is a German word for grandma, and it was this. I called it the boat, and it was just this gigantic sedan that I inherited after she passed.
It's funny.
When I was a teenager.
It's funny how many people's first cars were handed down from their grandparents.
Absolutely.
Do you have a hidden talent?
Hidden talent. I don't know if this would. I love to sing. I sing.
Really?
I'm not sure if that's hidden.
Would you like to give us a little song?
I would not. Then it wouldn't be hidden, and you would also be able to figure out whether or not it was a talent. But I do sing.
If you had to write a book, what would it be about?
Possibly what I've just been telling you about.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. No, I think it would probably be a leadership book in some way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Would the 12-year-old version of yourself think that you're cool?
Oh. I think the 12-year-old version of myself would just be surprised because, I had no idea at 12 that I wanted to be a superintendent or an assistant superintendent for human resources or a principal or a teacher, which are all the things I've done. So that 12-year-old would be just, okay, that's what happened.
Did you ever see yourself as a superintendent? Like at what point during your background?
So each one of my roles, I didn't see it until I saw it, is the best way I could put it. Mm-hmm. So, I started at one thing and then suddenly started thinking, oh, maybe this next thing is possible. Maybe this next thing is possible. So it wasn't really until I was an assistant superintendent for human resources that I started thinking about the superintendency.
Right. I have a special question here for you.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever made a decision as a superintendent that everybody agreed with? That's a fun one, right?
I can tell you without batting an eye, the answer to that is no.
Right. And you're in the position where no matter what decision you make, there'll be people that are rah-rah behind you and people that are, have you ever ate a roller dog from a gas station?
I don't think so. I've actually been a vegetarian since the age of 15.
Really?
Yes.
So the answer is probably
no.
All right. What's your middle name?
Karen.
Have you ever broken a bone?
Yes. Very significantly, this arm.
Yes.
On site at one of our schools, and had to have it. I've got a big old scar right here. Had to have it reset, and it's traumatic even to think about it. Yes.
Well, we won't talk about that anymore.
That sounds good.
Yes. If you had to have a theme party at your house, what would it be?
Oh gosh, it would probably be. My husband just went out of town, and I'm having a theme party because he would hate a theme party so badly.
You'd have to send him out of town.
Exactly.
For
that
starters.
would be the theme party.
It's
where he's out of town.
Going away party.
I guess so. Yes, because it's almost impossible to imagine that. He would hate that so much.
That's funny. Did you play a sport in high school or a member of a club?
I was a gymnast, though not in high school. In middle school, I was a gymnast. High school, I was a music theater person in a lot of shows, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Very cool. Your favorite Grayslake event to attend?
Well, possibly it's one that's coming up, which is our District 46, Foundation 46 Barn Fest.
Oh, Barn Fest has always been fun.
Yes, which we're bringing back. So I think that would be my answer for now.
Nice. We're just going to do two more, and then we're going to move on to the referendum.
Okay, but this is fun.
No, this is fun. Yeah. This is my favorite thing to do anyway. So Dr. Lynn Glickman walks into GMS on film, slow motion. What's the theme song playing behind as you walk in?
Oh, sure I can do it. I feel like any song I'm going to come up with is going to be so obscure.
I like obscure.
Can we come back?
Yes, we can come back.
Okay, thanks.
Well, at the end,
okay.
We're going to end with your theme song.
Okay, that sounds good.
And then I'll probably play it underneath.
Okay.
I don't think copyright-wise I'm probably not allowed
probably
to.
Not.
But what was the first concert you ever went to?
Growing up, I went to a lot of classical concerts with my family at Ravinia. But the first rock concert I went to was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Really?
When I was in high school.
So cool.
Yeah.
How many texts do you send a day? Lately probably a lot more.
Yeah, a whole lot. Our family likes to keep in touch, so it's really very nice. I mentioned I have these, 2 adult children, but we're all very, very close, and so we like to chat a lot.
Awesome.
I couldn't give you a number.
Last thing you purchased on Amazon?
I did a lot of purchasing over winter break and then was glad that winter break was over so I would stop purchasing things and returning them. I think it was some clothes, but I can't remember. It's not going to be exciting. It won't be a fun answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you wish, and this will be our last one, is there something that you wish you would have learned earlier in life?
Yeah. I remember this being something that my mother told me when I was late in high school, applying for colleges and couldn't figure out where to go. And she said to me, things have a way of working out. And so granted, I was pretty young when I heard that. I'm not sure I believed it, but I keep seeing that happen. And I think knowing that even a little bit earlier would have helped with a lot of, kind of angst we all go through as adolescents. Things have a way of working out.
Yeah, and you know what? Everybody goes through a time in their life you don't believe it sometimes until you see it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need to wait around a little bit longer,
yeah.
and it all happens.
It's what's happening now.
A testament
yes.
to to that. All right, so thank you very much for doing that. So let's talk about the referendum. I have a list of questions here, but I'm going to ask one first because I think it's on everybody's mind, so especially maybe parents that don't have kids at 46 now, and they're sitting back and they're looking at this referendum on which way to vote. And I think the first question people ask is, are my taxes going to go up?
Of course.
Because I'm a homeowner in Grayslake, and I want to know.
Absolutely, and it's such a reasonable question, and typically when you're voting for a referendum, the answer to that is usually yes, right?
Right.
The answer this time is no, because, well, let me pause and say I can only speak to tax rate. I can't speak with authority to an individual's taxes. That's important to hear. Okay, so I'm looking at you, Dave.
Right.
I cannot make you specifically a promise about your own taxes. And the reason for that is that we all know that homes get assessed differently, and there's all kinds of entities on a tax bill. So all I can speak to is District 46 tax rate. Okay,
right.
That rate is going to go down. And the reason for that is that the school board is not bringing a referendum to the taxpayers until the last bond is paid off. Or at least it doesn't go into effect, let's put it that way, until the bond is paid off. So the last time there was a referendum that passed in our school district, hang on, I want to give this accurately. Not that I don't give this presentation a million times. I do, but I want to make sure I have the date right. So back in 2004, November of 2004, the community passed a building bond referendum to build Park Campus. Okay?
Right.
And that's the last time. So and then also in 2004 there was a request for an operating rate referendum and one following that the next year also. Those two didn't pass. The board has not come back to the community since that time. So that 2004 building bond will be paid off before any new taxes come on. which means there's actually a decrease in people's tax rate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the answer to my tax question is specifically to 46, that 46 taxes will not go up for me. If my home increased in value, my taxes are going to go up.
Exactly. And by the way, all this information I'm sharing, it is all on our website. But the total tax rate goes down 10 cents. So that's on $100 of EAV. So to put that in a more easy to understand number, for a $300,000 home, taxes would go down an estimated $90. Okay. $90.45 actually.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's my first question.
Sure.
And I want to understand more about it. So why are we doing a referendum?
Yeah. So we have really significant needs. And we've been talking about some of them during this podcast, but I want to roll it back even further and talk about the inadequate funding of our school district. So every year, the Illinois State Board of Education, ISBE, does a rating of all of the schools, all the school districts in the state, and they identify how much money the district needs to bring in order to provide all of the programs for students and to keep all of the buildings in healthy shape, all of that work. That's their rating system. And based on the results of those ratings, that affects how much money they give to a school district, or what percentage they give to a school district, because some of our money comes from the state. Okay. They divide the school districts into 4 tiers. We are what's called a Tier 1 district, which means we are at the lowest end. We are able to collect the least percentage from our community. We are, according to the state of Illinois, 66% adequately funded. So when we look at all the money we get from the state, the small amount that we get from the federal government, and then what we get from our taxpayers, we only have 66% of what we should have every year in order to provide education for our students. And I'm looking at your face. Again, your podcast listeners can't see your face, but your face is saying, why is that?
Right, exactly.
Why is that? And I'm going to add this sentence. Why is that? Because my taxes are already so high. Is that what you're thinking?
Right,
Dave?
and I'm thinking, why isn't all of why with the taxes that we pay, how come it's not funding our schools specifically and giving them what they need?
Exactly. It's because we don't have a lot of business in our community.
We don't have the big businesses.
Exactly. We have beautiful businesses. I'm sitting in one right now.
Absolutely.
But we don't have big business.
Right.
And so when you look at if you go to our website, you can look at some of our presentations. You'll see information and a slide about how we compare to some other districts. Mm-hmm. So way at one end of the scale, and these are districts around us, elementary districts around us, is Libertyville, right? Libertyville District 70, they are 124% funded. So they have all of the money they need plus another 24%,
right.
And that's because of the business that they have.
Oh, gotcha.
Exactly. So that's
Understood.
kind of that's the range. So that 66%, it equates to $17 million a year. So every year there is $17 million that our state says, yeah, you need that money in order to educate your students, but we don't have that money. And so what have we done? Well, we've done a lot of things to kind of tighten our belt, things that we're not doing, and we can talk about those if you like. But we're also dipping into our fund balance. So a fund balance is like a savings account, right? Your home, you have your own savings account. You like to not use it for very much, but occasionally you need to use it. We've had to dip into that savings account, that fund balance, and so in fact, I'm going to give you the exact number right now.
Yes. As of February 12th.
Exactly. This is actually this year, right?
Right.
So this year we're projected to run a $2.7 million deficit. All right. Now, that means, just in case, that's not sounding familiar to people, that means that $2.7 million are being spent more than what's taken in. Okay? Think about it like that. That could be a $17 million deficit based on that gap I told you. It's not. It's just 2.7 because of all these various measures that we've done to make sure that we are not crazily overspending by $17 million a year. We cannot do that.
Right.
However, if there isn't a change in how we take in and spend our money, then we're going to be behold this threshold of 25% in our fund balance in 2026. So we are not supposed to go beyond this 25% threshold.
Gotcha.
So we're supposed to have in our fund balance every year 25% of our total budget.
Wow.
All right, and that's per our board policy, and that's per state board. And if we dip below that, then really difficult things happen. We could reduce the district's credit rating, which is serious business because that could increase borrowing costs. So think about that,
Absolutely.
right? Then we're spending more money on borrowing which is a terrible plan. And also, the state could take control of the district and make really difficult decisions for us. You don't want other people
making. We can't have that.
No, we cannot have that. So that's the direction that we're going in if we don't do something.
Gotcha. So it sounds like we have a blessing and a curse with our beautiful little town, that we have all these cute little businesses and everything, and not having big business makes our town appealing on a residential level about how we live our lives.
Absolutely.
But we need those businesses to come in to help. Right?
And I'm not here to talk about that one way or another.
Next week we have a guy coming in to talk about it,
that's
which is
fabulous.
great. But that's one of our problems anyway, is that we don't have large businesses.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, with the deficit and everything to be done, so what has the district done to cut costs?
Sure. So there's kind of how we have tried to live within our means, and which also is about opportunities that we simply don't have. But I'll start with things we've done. So of course there's the ESSER funds, that was the COVID relief, and we used that funding and other grants to do things that we hadn't been able to afford to do. So for example, we used some of that funding for a new English language arts materials. We were using materials that had been put in place a long, long time ago because we could not afford to update our curriculum.
Wow.
We've renegotiated supplier and banking contracts, including purchasing instead of leasing Chromebooks. That was something that we did. That was just a good financial decision. We utilize our solar power. We've deferred a lot of maintenance. We know that, and we can't continue doing that, and we can talk about that as well. We've sought additional revenue sources like leasing space for a cellular tower. So we've done those kinds of things to try to bring funds in. Mm-hmm. But there are also things that we haven't done that we'd love to do that are not even a part of this referendum. So I haven't yet talked with you about what will we do with the money.
Right.
We can get to that.
Yes.
But there are some opportunities that don't even exist in our school district, like world language, like Spanish class. That was cut in this district a very long time ago and hasn't been brought back and isn't even a part of this referendum request because adding world language in would make it so that taxpayers, their taxes actually would go up. And we got feedback through polling that people didn't want that at all. So, that's not in our day. We have a pretty short school day. Every year, our board struggles with the concept of wanting to be able to fully fund after-school activities for students. But they know that would dip into our fund balance as well. And so, for the most part, those activities are self-funded. Families are funding them. So those are just some examples of things that we can't even do for our students within the funding that we have.
Interesting. I read somewhere, and I want to go over this quickly because I know we have a lot of things to go. I was reading something. I'm like, what in the world is limiting rate? Like, what is
Right. All right.
Am I not intelligent that I don't know what that is?
No. That's not about you, Dave. That's about legal language. All right. So there is so much about putting forth a referendum that is not user-friendly. Let's start with that. The referendum question that we put on the ballot is written by attorneys. I'm sure I have some fantastic attorneys listening to this podcast, and attorneys, we love you. And the language that you give us for what we can put on a ballot is super confusing.
Right, and Dave Wool would like it written in English.
Right. So, but let's go back to limiting rate, because that's one of those languages, one of those pieces. So we're asking, I think maybe I want to explain what we're asking, and then I'll roll.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that first.
So we're asking for a $6 million extension every year. $6 million that would be used past what we can already collect from the community. So what does that mean? There's a law, it's called PTEL. It's also known as a tax cap. That's an easier way to talk about it. So in order to ask for more, which is what we're doing, we have to go through a referendum and ask for, and here's that language, ask for a limiting rate increase. So it's an increase on what we are limited to ask. Does that make more sense?
That makes a lot more sense.
Okay. But we don't have a lot of great places to explain that except for on your podcast.
Right, because it's hard
right?
to read all the time.
It's really hard to read, exactly. So that's what that's about. And then that $6 million, half of it would be used for our facilities. And when you want, we can talk about that. And then half of it would be used just for our operating fund, which deals with the day-to-day operations of the district, which really speaks to that $17 million gap that we have.
Okay.
You want me to keep going?
I think I get it if you think it needs to be explained further, but I think I grab it.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so, and then we're talking about specifically, I would like to know what you would like to speak on upon that, like where exactly it's going to go. So listeners can understand when they're voting for this or not voting for it, like what difference it's going to make.
Sure.
What do we lose if it doesn't?
Yeah.
Speak upon that so people can understand.
Absolutely. So half of that money, approximately $3 million every year, would go towards our facilities. So let's pause there for a moment. The standard in a school district our size, according to our architects, is that every year we should be spending $3 million on our facilities just to maintain them. We have absolutely not been able to do that because of that significant funding gap that I talked about. 3 years ago, we put into place a 10-year capital improvement plan. 10 years of work that we need to do. But we are only able to fund 3 years of it, and we were able to do that by selling bonds in a legal way that didn't include going to referendum. Okay. So we sold some bonds, and that gave us enough funding for 3 years of work. Well, guess what? This is year 3 of that work. We have 7 years of work that is currently unfunded. It includes, spoiler alert, new boilers.
Oh, wow. I didn't think you were going to mention that. Right.
At GMS and at some of our other schools. And a new chiller at Frederick, which you might remember also went down this year.
Right.
It includes new roofs places. It includes internal pieces like flooring. There's a long ADA improvements. It includes fixing our sidewalks, paving, all of that kind of stuff. The exterior envelope of the school. So half of the money would go towards these kinds of capital improvements that we absolutely need to do in order to keep our buildings safe and functioning and to avoid costly repairs down the road. Some of that $3 million per year would also go towards some things that we don't currently have. Or things that's not true. Things we want to improve. So we want to improve our library media centers, making them state-of-the-art library media centers where students could do more STEM learning, science, technology, engineering, and math. We absolutely are currently doing STEM instruction, but we want to have more materials and better space for that STEM learning. We want to be able to use our library media centers for better collaboration for students, because we know students are no longer using those spaces just the way you and I did when we were kids, where we would go do some research using the encyclopedia that we'd pull off the shelves and do a report. They're creating content, right? They need to be able to do that in order to be able to work in beautiful places like you and I are sitting right now.
Right.
They have to be able to collaborate. So that's all about our media centers. We also would be using a portion of that capital improvement money to improve our student service spaces. So we're talking about things like special education, occupational therapy, physical therapy, multilingual learner spaces. We currently have all of that programming for our students, and I'm really proud of what our teachers are able to do in the spaces that we have, but they're not spaces that were designed for those programs. And so currently we have, perhaps 3 different programs going on in one large classroom, divided with furniture and dividers, that kind of thing. It's very distracting for kids. So that's the facility side.
Right.
The other part of the equation is the operations, the operating rate. Okay, the operating fund. And so $3 million every year would go into our operating fund just to take care of the day-to-day functions of our school district. Again, remember, we have a $17 million gap. We're not asking for $17 million. We're asking for $6 million, half of it to go towards operating. And that's for things like maintaining the opportunities that we have for students in their classrooms, like maintaining class size. Right? We don't want our class sizes to go up.
In my opinion, yes.
Incredibly important. We don't want class size to go up. It includes things like attracting the best possible teaching staff that we have. And of course, that has to do with salary and working conditions. We want this to be a place that people want to come to work, both because they are paid well for their work and because they want to be here and they feel comfortable in their setting. We are in significant competition throughout the county, throughout the state, throughout the country, because there's a teacher shortage. Teachers can go anywhere. We want them to be here, so we want to be able to pay them properly. Right. And then we want to be able to maintain all the programming that we have. So we don't want to have to cut any programs. But obviously, if we don't have the funding, we can't continue with the programs that we can't have. We can't continue providing our students with the services that they're currently getting.
Right.
Yeah.
If I hear you correctly, and maybe I'm just drawing assumptions off what you said.
It's okay.
When you say that class size could go up, that only leads me to one thing: is if we don't have the referendum, does that mean that we have to have less teachers?
I mean, that's the math.
Yeah.
That's the math. We don't like to talk about that a lot. We don't want to worry people.
Right.
And I do want to clarify that currently class size is in our teacher's contract. We'll be bargaining again coming up, and we certainly don't want to have those difficult conversations through a bargaining session. Right. But again, we need more funding in order to maintain what we currently have.
Right. And I'm sorry because I don't want to scare anybody, but the reality of things are bad things happen if we don't have what we need. All right. Where are we going from here? I know I had one question on here is why is the district addressing both capital needs and operating needs at the same time? Why not do one or the other?
Yeah, it's because our needs are so significant in both areas, and they're really tied together, right?
Right.
So so that's why, because the needs are significant in both areas.
Right. And some of these other ones that I have, we keep saying that our district is underfunded.
Yeah.
And I think you've kind of explained what that means.
Yeah.
And how much we're underfunded. And I think maybe people would, and I think you've explained it too on the rate that we get on that, but people that are paying these taxes that are unhappy about the taxes they pay. They're
get
like,
it.
hey, how does this happen? I pay all these taxes.
Right.
Everybody gets all these money, and you're asking for more.
Yeah.
But I think you've explained it very clearly.
Thank you.
How that happens.
Thank you. I want to share one more piece about that. So the state funding formula for schools is certainly complicated. And it used to be that the state would fund schools. The state funding would be a flat formula, which meant that everybody got the same percentage. Mm-hmm. When they changed a number of years ago to what's called the evidence-based formula, which is what they use now, that's when they went into this tier funding. And so because we're in this lowest tier, they give us a higher percentage than they might give like a Libertyville, for example.
Sure.
So the state's really been trying to improve the situation. However, because of things like inflation and the tax cap, we have only gone from 65% funded when all that began to 66% funded. So it hasn't made that much of a difference for us. We're glad for the additional funding we get from the state, but it hasn't, obviously, we're still at 66%.
Right. And maybe you've answered this, but my question that hits me is, why are we in the lowest tier? How does that happen?
Because we're at 66% funded. And why are we? That's why.
Okay.
So it's nothing. So the rating, I'm nervous about using the word rating. It doesn't mean, has nothing to do with the quality of the district. It has to do with how much money is coming in. That's what that means. Lowest rating means the lowest amount of adequate funding, and we're at 66%.
Right. And I'm going to go on record saying that you didn't make these rules.
I did not make these rules. Absolutely.
And not everybody likes everything that happens, but we do the best with what we have.
Yeah.
Okay. I keep hearing the district is in deficit spending.
Yep.
And I think you've talked about that.
And we can't keep doing that.
All right. So, yeah. And how long can the district continue to do that?
Right.
That's the hard part,
That's the question,
right?
So I think it's 2026. We will, if nothing changes, let's put it that way.
Right.
We will go so far into deficit spending that we will dip below that 25% threshold, and that's when we are at danger of the state coming in and making their own changes, and also having a lower rating,
right.
and therefore having even a harder time borrowing, which is not something we want to have to happen.
So maybe this isn't a great question to ask you.
Oh, go for it.
But,
I'm on the hot seat.
It's the hot
seat.
We have Lynn on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Okay, so if this is so important, why didn't we bring this referendum sooner?
I'm glad you asked that question. It's out of respect for the taxpayers,
right. Because
we wanted to bring it when we knew that the other referendum was about to roll off, or rather the money that was continuing to be collected from the community was rolling off. We didn't want to raise taxes. And this has been the way to make it so that we're not raising taxes. Taxpayers in our community, and again, this is specific to an average, right? Not an individual person's home, but
sure.
They should expect that their taxes would go down a little bit.
Sure.
And not going up.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that voting for a referendum that my taxes would go down.
Right.
I don't think anybody even expects them to stay the same.
But that's the intent here,
right.
And that's the plan.
Wow.
And wait, I want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
So listeners are very welcome and encouraged to go to our website.
What is the website too? Because
absolutely.
Sorry.
Well, absolutely.
Sometimes I miss the forest for the trees.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we have our generalized website at CCSD 46, but to learn about this,
yes.
You would go to d46.org/excellence. d46.org/excellence. And on that website, there's, oh my gosh, so much information. But what I wanted to point you to is our tax calculator. So an individual can go in, put in all of their own personal information, and it'll spit out for you what your taxes will be if the referendum passes.
That is a great tool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool tool.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
So I have a very opinionated friend. Wait, I have a couple opinionated friends.
So do I.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure you don't
Excellent.
You get to hear about it a lot more. So a guy just said, hey, why don't they just close one of the schools? Because we have all these schools. Why don't they just close one of the schools? Wouldn't that solve the problem?
Yeah. That I would say that's not just an opinionated friend. That is just somebody with asking a good question.
Okay.
So maybe your person is opinionated, but
he's very opinionated.
Okay,
yes.
But regardless,
that is a valid good question.
It's a very valid good question, and it is absolutely something that we looked at.
Okay.
There is no way to do that would make any sense. Let's put it that way. So, first of all, schools function best when they are 80 to 85% full. Let's put it that way. Like when you look at the entire space, I'm smiling and laughing because this is the first time I've answered this question since we've been over at GMS East, where we are, using every nook and cranny. So we're really seeing it happen right now. But you don't want more than 80 to 85% of a building to be in full use at any time. That's the industry standard, or at least you don't want to make decisions that will bring it fuller than that. That's the first thing to know. But aside from that, the only way to close a school and have enough space for all of our students, and we really did look at this, would be to add on to other schools. And so then you're talking about construction, which is significantly more expensive than anything we're talking about here. Okay. And it would mean, to me, that's a non-starter right there, because then you're talking about spending more money. But also, I think it's important for people to know that our community is pretty proud of having what we call neighborhood schools. We have
very cool. It's very cool.
We have Park Campus that serves K-8 in one community, and then we have all of the rest of our students who go to 4 elementary schools that are housed right in their neighborhoods to the extent possible. Those students then all go to Frederick, and those students go to GMS. And if we were to close a school and do something, sometimes districts will do things like go to grade level centers. It completely disrupts all of that, and we have a lot of community members that would not want that. But the primary reason, the first reason to know, is that it would be significantly more expensive to try to close a school because we'd have to do a ton of construction other places.
Understood. Okay, so the last question I have, and I know we've been on here longer than normal, but we'll take what we need.
People going to listen to all of this?
I don't know if you're still listening.
Gosh.
We'll find out.
I hope so.
My last one is what happens if the referendum does not pass? Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the opposite end of what we're trying to do, right? So we're talking about that $3 million that needs to go to our facilities every year. The school board would have to make really difficult decisions about how to maintain our schools without that additional funding coming in, and what kind of cuts they would have to make. And then we just talked about that $3 million that's meant to keep the operations going the way we want them to go, maintaining our amazing teaching staff, keeping all of the programs that we're so proud of, and making this a wonderful place for people to be, maintaining our class sizes. All of those are things that the school board would have to look at. So. Wow,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you to all of the staff that teaches at all of the schools in our community, from K through all the way through high school and everything, because I get to interview a lot of people on here, and a lot of the things that people say and the reason that people are drawn to our community is because we have great schools. Right?
Thank you. We're so proud of our schools.
Yeah, and you guys do a lot of work behind the scenes, and I hope everybody gives you, whether they agree, they disagree, whatever they do, that at least they understand there's human beings behind this that are making the choices that they think are best for our community, and obviously you and everybody else are in the positions there, but that make that happen. So I thank you on behalf of my kids as well. All right, wait. Before we end, you owe me a walk-up song.
I owe you a walk-up song. All right. So I really struggled because I listen to a lot of music.
Okay.
A lot. So all I can do is give you today's walk-up song.
All right.
All right. That's the best I can do.
All right.
All right.
So, you mean February 12th's walk-up song?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm going to make a guess you don't know this song. This isn't.
All right.
All right. It's a song called "Put Your Records On" by Corinne Bailey Rae. Do you know that song?
I do know that song. I'm a DJ.
Okay, of course.
Right,
Oh my gosh, I
Who are
almost
you talking
insulted
to?
you. How rude. I'm so sorry. So because it has a chill vibe, but is completely positive, and to me it's about kind of, inner strength and taking care of what you need to take care of for yourself so you can support other people. So that's
relevant.
Today's song. There it is.
All right,
I'm going to go listen to it in the car.
Yes, I'm going to put my records on the way home.
Okay.
But before, anything else you want to share? Anything else going on before we sign off?
Yes. So we talked about where people can get more information about the referendum on our website. I also want to make sure everyone knows that we have community meetings. So we have been doing a community meeting at every single one of our schools. And, I spent such a long time just now talking about the referendum. There's so much complicated information, and it's just much better if people come to a meeting and get their questions answered. So I do want to share some that are coming up. There's one tonight, but this won't be.
Yeah, that'll be a couple of days ago.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of days ago. So on February 20th, we have one at Woodview School at 6:30. On February 28th, we have one at Meadowview School at 6:30. Once we've gotten through those, we will have done all six of our schools, everything except for GMS, and we are working on a date for GMS East. And I actually suspect that by the time this airs, we will have solidified that date and sent the information out. But
cool. And let me know before then if you find that, because we'll put that info in there as well.
Okay, great.
Who can come to these?
Oh, they're wide open community members.
Okay.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the ones we recently had was very sparsely attended in terms of families that have kids going to that school, and most of the people that came were community members who don't have children at the school, which was really interesting. But everyone needs the information so that they can make the best decisions for themselves.
All right, I appreciate you doing that too. That's cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, if everybody made it this far, thank you for listening.
I know, thank you for listening.
So we're going to give you a couple before we sign off. So the couple websites we want to go for the referendum website, let me see if I get this right, is D46
here.
Here we go.
You can look at it.
Yes.
I have that for you.
Because there's any questions. And go on the calculator thing. I think the calculator is great. So it's D46.org, and then it's a /excellence. And we will get this information. It'll be in the show notes on here too, so you can easily click through to check that out. But I think that's a good way to educate yourself, and hopefully this has brought information to everyone so you understand what's going on. Ironically, you and I were going to sit down and we were going to do an interview before all this madness happened.
So
isn't that great that we got to wait?
Yes. What I'm remembering, Dave, is that we had like a hey, let's just chat one that we had scheduled back at kind of the end of 2023.
Yeah.
And one of the two of us had to reschedule. I can't remember who.
I'm pretty sure you blew me off.
Okay, sounds good. And then awesome. And then I did not. And then we were scheduled during the freeze.
Yes,
we were scheduled literally during the freeze. And I said to you, Dave, I can't come. We have a lot going on in the district right now.
Right.
That was it.
You used your time wisely.
Thank you so much.
And now we get to summarize everything.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you.
So Lynn, Dr. Glickman.
Yeah.
Okay, formally.
Lynn works.
Okay.
Lynn works great.
So thank you so much for joining us today. And Grayslake, thank you for listening. Please feel free to reach out, write some comments under here, whatever you would like. But we appreciate everybody listening, and no matter where you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or whatever your favorite listening platform is, make sure to subscribe so you get notified on everybody and every new person that comes out. And I do challenge everybody today to get out there and do one little random act of kindness to somebody. We never know what people are going through. Let's be kind to our neighbors, and kindness spreads like wildfire. So go out and do your part today. Be nice to somebody. And we appreciate everybody listening, and we will see you next Tuesday, everybody.